The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
This is what you can look forward to on this jolly holiday episode of Skywalking Through Neverland.
Practically perfect in every way.
I mean, they really had an impossible task because the original Mary Poppins is considered Walt's masterpiece.
No, I meant walking alongside Meryl Streep.
Oh, well, I wouldn't let her make eye contact or anything with me.
Well, then we'll pick up this conversation in 45 years then. Martin, can you hang on? Okay. Delete. Move on. Martin, move on. There you go. There's your answer.
This is why you should be running Disney.
And rewatch all the films again.
Are you ready?
Welcome to Neverland.
Here we go.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets lab.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Happy holidays, Skywalkers! Hey, do you want to talk about the brand new Star Wars film?
Sweet. No new Star Wars film this year.
Oh, sorry. That was a habit. Are you ready to talk about the return of Mary Poppins? Then we want to welcome you to Skywalking Through Neverland. We are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, and Marvel fandom. I am Richard Wolosky, your tour guide through fandom. But now everyone, please say hello to my practically perfect sweetie wife, Sarah.
Oh, I'm practically perfect. Or am I your supercalifragilisticexpialidocious wife?
All the above.
Can you say that?
Nope. Yes, you are my perfect wife.
Or you could say it backwards, which is docious expiastic fragicalirufus. But that's going a bit too far, isn't it?
Indubitably.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
I can't say that any more than I can say the fiduciary fidelity.
Fidelity Fiduciary Bank?
Fidelity Fiduciary Bank.
That one? Well, Skywalkers, it is time to give a big Wookiee hug to all of you. You are our Skywalking family. We want to thank you for listening to the show every single week. And we just love it when you share our joy in this adventure through fandom. Now, this week, we are not live on Facebook or Instagram because we have a special guest.
A special guest? Oh, I hope he has the same accent as Mary Poppins.
Well, I think he does. Everyone, we have Martin Keeler of Fantha Tracks from all the way across the pond.
Hey, Martin.
Welcome from London, as everyone speaks in Mary Poppins Land.
I hope that wasn't too stereotypical to think that everyone sounds the same, because I'm sure over there no one sounds the same to your ears.
No, well, like I say, everyone says about this weird accent they have, but to us, they're just talking normal, clearly.
And we're the ones with the weird accents, huh?
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
Well, we'll accept that.
Yes.
Well, Martin, thank you very much for joining us on this Mary Poppins holiday episode. Now, I got to ask you before we begin here, how big of a Mary Poppins fan are you?
So I was brought up on it because it's my parents' favourite film. So I wouldn't say I was a big fan once I grew up a bit, but then I watched it with my kids. But it's really my mum and dad's favourite film, so I was very, very familiar with it.
Okay, so you watched it a lot growing up?
Yep.
Okay.
It's like my mum and dad, the only time they've ever done anything like cosplaying was going to fancy dress parties as Bert and Mary.
Oh!
So they were big into it.
That's awesome. That's kind of like me. When I was a kid, I listened to the soundtrack over and over again, but as I grew up, I got out of it until I met Sarah, and we watched it again and again and again.
Because I grew up I was in love with Mary Poppins and Julie Andrews. So,
right.
like 4 years old, I would watch Mary Poppins and Sound of Music like over and over and over again.
I think the only time I had seen the Mary Poppins before I met you, Sarah, was when I was 5 years old and I brought my Mego Galen Planet of the Apes action figure.
Wasn't this like your first movie you ever went to in the
The first
theater?
movie I ever went to, and I lost his shoe, and I would not stop whining the whole movie until I found this shoe.
So needless to say, you didn't get much out of your first viewing of Mary Poppins.
Neither did anybody else around us.
But I think one of the problems is when you become an adult, you forget about Mary Poppins. I'm sure that's something that happens.
That's the thing. Like, Mary Poppins is all about that childlike joy and keeping it even through adulthood.
Let's remind everyone to listen to our Step in Time.
Ooh.
Yeah, the podcast we recorded a few years ago with Stephen Stanton, where we broke down and reflected on the original 1964 Mary Poppins.
Yeah, and to find that, you can just search in our regular podcast feed for Step in Time Mary Poppins, or you can go to our website, Skywalking Through Neverland, and search Step in Time.
All right, now, before we dive into Mary Poppins and seeing how this is the first December with no Star Wars movie in years.
Uh-oh, in 3 years.
Well, what shall we do?
Well, we shall break out in song, of course.
Of course we should. And this is our ode to not having a Star Wars film this month.
On this first day, no Star Wars in December, what to do? I'll rewatch all the films again.
The Force will be with you.
On the second day, no Star Wars in December, what to do?
Countdown to next year.
And rewatch all the films again. On the third day, no Star Wars in December, what to do?
Speculate on Reylo.
Countdown to next year.
And rewatch all the films again. Yahoo! On the fourth day, no Star Wars in December, what to do? Wait for the teaser trailer.
Speculate on Reylo.
Countdown to next year.
And rewatch all the films again.
I love you.
I know.
On the fifth day, no Star Wars in December, what to do?
I won't miss sleeping on a cold Hollywood sidewalk.
When is the teaser trailer?
Reylo, Ray, Ren, Kylo, Ray.
Countdown to next year.
And rewatch all the films again.
Maury.
On the sixth day, no Star Wars in December, what to do?
I wonder who are Ray's parents.
I won't miss sleeping on a cold Hollywood sidewalk.
They said the trailer's coming soon. When is soon?
Reylo or Daisy Driver.
Countdown to next year.
And rewatch all the films again. On the seventh day, no Star Wars in December, what to do? Might as well watch some other Christmas movies.
Wonder who are Ray's parents.
I'll sleep in my own bed.
When will the trailer happen?
Do they even need to be together?
My countdown has begun.
And rewatch all the films again.
The Force is strong in this one.
On this eighth day, no Star Wars in December, what do we do?
I guess spend time with family.
Watch Love Actually.
Wonder who are Ray's parents.
Won't sleep on a sidewalk.
Just give us the teaser trailer.
Does the galaxy need a Reylo?
I'll count down to December 19.
And rewatch all the films again. On the ninth day, no Star Wars in December, what do we do?
Look for Lego toy leaks.
I guess spend time with family.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Who are really Ray's parents?
I won't miss sleeping on a cold Hollywood dirty sidewalk.
Waiting for the teaser trailer.
Speculate on Reylo.
1 year and counting.
And rewatch all the films again.
Cassian said I had to.
On the 10th day, no Star Wars in December, what to do? I want another Star Wars story film.
Look for Lego toy leaks.
I guess spend some time with my family.
Christmas, Netflix, and chill.
Need to know Ray's parents.
I won't miss getting sick on a Hollywood sidewalk. Soon. When is soon for a teaser trailer?
Speculate on Reylo.
Countdown to next year.
And rewatch all the films again. On this 11th day, no Star Wars in December, what to do?
Go skywalking through Neverland.
More Star Wars story films.
Looking for Lego toy leaks.
spending time with my family.
Watch the Christmas Chronicles.
Wonder who I raised parents.
No more sleeping on the cold concrete in Hollywood.
Give me a teaser trailer, please.
Speculate on Raylo.
Counting down to next year.
And rewatch all the films again.
Do it.
On this 12th day, no Star Wars in December, what to do?
I'll see Mary Poppins Returns.
Sky walking through Neverland.
I want an Obi-Wan story film.
Look for Lego toy leaks.
Spend some time with family.
Watch Home Alone and Elf.
Wonder who I raised parents.
I won't miss sleeping on a cold, freezing Hollywood sidewalk.
Just give me a title.
Speculate on Raylo.
I'll count down to 2019 and
rewatch all the films again.
This holiday season,
How'd you do that?
do what? Magic has a new name. Mary Poppins!
Mary Poppins?
Mary Poppins.
Wonderful to see you. She's talking to a dog.
Well, of course she can talk. On December 19th,
Wow.
you can discover
Are you sure this is quite safe?
where imagination
Not in the slightest. Ready?
can take you.
Good thing you come along when you did, Mary Poppins.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Mary Poppins Returns on December 19th in the US. Now, before we get into our discussion, we just want to warn everyone, there will be spoilers. Because as you know, we like to talk in depth about these films. So get ready, everyone. Grab onto your kite strings.
And your umbrellas.
Yeah.
Your talking umbrellas. And we've all been fortunate enough to see it at early screenings. And Sarah, we attended a press conference here in Los Angeles. But Martin, you saw the UK premiere at Royal Albert Hall. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, certainly did. I was lucky enough to get tickets and to take my mum and dad, which was one of the nicest things about that. Yep, it was a blue carpet event at the Royal Albert Hall. So they turned the whole of the entrance or the route up to the Royal Albert Hall into is it cherry blossom? I always say cherry tree. Is it cherry blossom?
No, it's Cherry Tree Lane. Cherry Tree Lane.
It's Cherry Tree Lane. I should know this. Yeah, so they changed it into Cherry Tree Lane.
Aww.
So you walked up the blue for the big premiere with all the stars. Had the bizarre experience of walking alongside Meryl Streep, which is something I never thought I would do.
Whoa.
Oh, all right, go on.
So they did the same for The Last Jedi, and you can see all this on the Disney UK site. They did a little summary video.
No, I meant walking alongside Meryl Streep.
Oh, well, I wouldn't let her make eye contact or anything with me. It was just we were happening to walk
Oh, fair enough.
at
Fair
the
enough.
same time. So she was doing press questions as well, but it was a bit weird being so close because you sort of look to your left and go, "That's Meryl Streep."
Oh my goodness! Didn't you have a photo also of Emily Blunt from like across the carpet?
Yeah, so when we got to the top, and I have to say, here's a top tip for anyone who does get to go to one of these events. If you've ever been lucky enough to go to a red carpet event, you'll know they're in quite a hurry to get you in. Mm-hmm. So they're often pushing you to move as quick as possible. Take an elderly parent with you.
Yeah.
Because they don't hurry them. Yeah, my mum suddenly became very, very slow as we took our time walking past all the stars, and to the point where we slowly caught up with Emily Blunt.
Nice.
Who was one of the first in there. So she was doing at the top of the red carpet. They had like a open stage where you'd get interviewed by a lady called Edith Bowman. I don't know if you guys have heard of her. She's sort of big films in radio over here. And when they reached the end of the press junket, they would go on the stage and do like a 5-minute public interview that was broadcast on all the screens. So as we got to the top, Emily Blunt was just coming onto stage. So we got to stand by her and watch her do that. And then my daughter was also there, and her big hero is Lin-Manuel Miranda. And all she wanted to do was see Lin-Manuel Miranda. And we'd worked out that he was going to be next on the stage. And of course, security were trying to move us on. And would you believe my mum? She felt very fragile and had to have a little rest and lean against the wall.
Nice.
So
nice.
We also got to see Manuel Miranda close up and get a little wave, which I think made Catherine's night.
Oh, wow! He waved. He waved to Catherine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
There's a bucket list item.
Yeah, there was tears straight away.
That'd be funny that as soon as you got into the theater, your mom like did cartwheels and jumping jacks and flew over there to her seat.
Yeah. Well, as we were finishing the the blue carpet, you guys, it's Bruno's on Dancing with the Stars
Bruno
in America.
Tonioli.
Yeah. So my mum and dad love. It's called Strictly Come Dancing, I think.
Okay.
God, I can't remember what it's called now. But it's called something different. But we had Bruno and that from the beginning. Miraculous recovery when she saw Bruno. Immediately went over and got a photo taken with him.
Doing Jedi flips and shoulder rolls.
Hoof it over there. That's awesome.
That's hysterical. You know what? I want to ask you. You said a blue carpet. What's up with a blue carpet?
Because Mary Poppins was wearing blue.
Yeah, that's like her.
So everything was blue.
Okay.
Blue jacket.
No, it's the new one. It's all blue. So here's a nice little crossover for Star Wars for you. When they opened up the blue carpet, it started off with the lamplighters walking down and lighting up the lamps to get you through. And they did a song and dance routine. I think they did Tripping the Light Fantastic.
Right. Trip a Little Light Fantastic.
That's it. They did a bit of that, which of course we hadn't heard at that point. And then they had a few Mary Poppins dancing alongside them.
Oh!
But what was nice was after they did all that, they all sort of stayed there so you could have your photo taken as you walked up. So we had a nice photo taken with 4 of the lamplighters.
Oh.
And then I posted it online, and our mutual friend, Mr. D. Tales, got in contact and said, "You do realise the guy to your left was actually a character actor in Star Wars."
Oh, really?
Fun.
Who was he?
Yeah, so he played one of the Twi'leks, I think, in the in Solo, in the Dryden Voss ship. So Dee recognised him from my picture at Mary Poppins.
That's amazing.
Got to get work where you got to get work. Well, there's another Star Wars crossover with Lin-Manuel Miranda, having written the Jabba Flow song in Maz Kanata's castle.
Right.
If I'd got close enough, I would have gone Jabba. Just to see if there was a reflex action that made him start going. It didn't happen.
That's awesome.
Since we're talking about celebrities here, when I went to the press conference, I got all dressed up in my Mary Poppins outfit. You know,
the Julie Andrews Jolly Holiday.
Yeah, the Jolly Holiday
outfit.
Dress that I got from the Disney dress shop, and I had my little hat and my little capelet, and I looked all cute. And I was setting up my camera in the front row. I managed to get in the front row of the press conference because very diligent about that.
She pushed over a lot of other people.
Exactly. This is Mary Poppins after all. And so I'm sitting in the front row with my floofy dress and my capelet, and I'm trying to get the camera all set up when all the actors come in. And so it wasn't until I was looking at the footage afterward that I look at the camera, which is jostling a little bit. But if you look in my video footage on YouTube, you can see Emily Blunt looking at me and pointing and like with this nodding look on her face. So like I missed that in the press conference itself because I was actually getting my camera set up, but I saw it in the footage later.
That was like when Daisy Ridley looked at my R2-D2 jacket and said, "Oh, cool jacket."
Yeah, exactly.
So when you go to these press conferences, you gotta dress to impress.
Exactly.
You gotta dress like a beacon, so they'll go, "Hey, look at that person."
Yeah. Did you dress to impress at the premiere, Martin?
Yeah, but it's a black tie event, so you have to wear your tux. You don't have too much flexibility as to what to wear. But I did sneak on a Bert pin for my tie.
Oh, nice.
So I had a little bit of theming. Last year for the last Jedi, I had a Porg pin.
Oh.
This year I had a Bert pin.
Cool.
They should have said, unless you have one of those Dick Van Dyke Ice Cream Man striped jackets. If you have one of those, you can wear that. If not, black tie it is.
Oh, if only.
Yes.
All right, now let's move on to Mary Poppins Returns.
So let's go into the film synopsis here. Mary Poppins Returns is a sequel to the original, which was released in 1964. So now the timeline is set approximately 20 years later in the 1930s, which is Depression-era London. Michael Banks, who is the little boy in the first film, has 3 children and learns that his family house will be repossessed in 5 days unless he can pay back the loan. With the help from Sister Jane and his family, he has to find a missing certificate that shows proof of valuable shares that his father left him years earlier. Just as all seems lost, Michael and his sister receive the surprise of a lifetime when Mary Poppins returns to save the day and take the Banks family on a magical, fun-filled adventure.
See, everyone, we told you there would be spoilers. All right, so Martin, let's start with you. What were your overall thoughts on Mary Poppins Returns?
So I went in pretty open-minded. Like I say, I was predominantly driven by going to see it with my mum and dad because I knew they liked the previous one and I had the opportunity, so I went. And I really, really liked the film. I was really, really surprised as to how much of an actual sequel it was rather than a reboot. It felt like they had captured the spirit of the original, and the music felt like it was from that era and everything, although it had moved on. And it didn't feel like they were trying to reintroduce a generation to Mary Poppins. It seemed to make this assumption that you knew what had happened before. Because there's some bits in it, if you haven't seen it, would make no sense whatsoever. The bit at the end is just a complete direct reference to the first one.
Right.
Yeah, we had actually forgotten how important the tuppence was.
Oh.
You know what? We did say this is going to be filled with spoilers.
Yeah.
So, Mark, Mark, you make a very good point with the tuppence part from the original film, where little Michael Banks, he's got a couple of tuppence,
right.
And the evil banker, played by Dick Van Dyke, he wants those tuppence, and he gets those tuppence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens 20 years later to those tuppence, Martin?
It turns out it can cover the costs of the debt they've got.
20 years in the bank.
Yeah, that was a great callback. Mm-hmm. Everyone in the theater we saw it just howled, not with laughter, but with like, this little tiny plot device in the first film.
Yep.
It's not a tiny plot device. It's
in the first film?
It's a big part of the first film.
Well, compared to Mary Poppins coming and making the Banks family all united once again and showing Mr. Banks that it's not all about money and work, it's all about family time. That's everything else to me is superfluous to that main plot. So you're right. It's not a tiny plot device, but something that you wouldn't have thought would become really the saving grace in the sequel. That was my point.
Okay.
Yeah. And I thought I was really good in the sense of, you see so many films now where, in the first 10 minutes, there'll be a reference, someone will just casually say, hey, what happened to that tuppence that you had? In a complete lead up, to what's going to come at the end, completely coordinated. And this, to me, unless I missed something, it completely came out of the blue.
It did.
It assumed you'd watched Mary Poppins just before going to see this.
Yeah.
Because if you hadn't, you would have no idea what they were referring to.
You know what's funny about that is, to me, it made total sense, but that's because this film, I've watched it so many times, it's almost like I had watched it yesterday, even though the last time I seen this movie was probably a couple of years ago. It just, to me, the tuppence is so ingrained.
Right, so all the fans will get it immediately, and for the new viewers, they won't really make the connection, but they'll still understand, this is the tuppence that he had deposited in the bank unwittingly, and it had matured. So people will get it on that alone. So you won't be lost,
right?
Because of that, you won't be lost because you won't know what tuppence. What is this all about? So there's enough dots to connect where it will make sense.
Yeah. And like I say, so I was kind of expecting a reboot and not really a continuation as such. And it was really apparent to me it was a proper sequel.
Right. All right. Now, Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I felt that this film was really, it's a love letter to the original film. And that is good and bad. Because on a good level, yes, it has a lot of the same feeling. And the songs, it has that whole childlike wonder and magic to it. However, it's bad just because in 2018, this isn't 1960s, we have a faster pace, or we're used to a faster pace now in films. So I felt the film was a bit slow, and some of the songs just didn't have quite the singability as the Sherman Brothers songs. To me, and actually after second viewing, the lyrics really stood out more than the music to me. So I really applaud the lyricist. The music to me just doesn't hold up as well. But of course, nothing's going to compare with nostalgia.
No.
I mean, they really had an impossible task because the original Mary Poppins is considered Walt's masterpiece and by many, and it won 5 Academy Awards, and it was nominated for 13, and it's just very much a product of its time.
Now, for me, it felt like a Mary Poppins film from the very start because of the Peter Ellenshaw matte painting of London. And I dove right in. I thought, oh, this is going to be something because of that. They're connecting the dots to us nostalgic fans.
Right.
And we go, oh, right. Now I'm very excited because I want to feel the same way I did when I saw Mary Poppins as a kid. Or for me, I saw little bits of it while looking for my Planet of the Apes Galen shoe. But Sarah, watching it with you, I became a fan again. And I really wanted to dive into this and have those same feelings. However, for me, it didn't work so much on that. And I grew up on the soundtrack, and I wanted to sing the songs, leaving the theater. That didn't happen. And the film started with a very slow song by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Mm-hmm. And the pacing did not pick up until the third act. I felt it was very slow. And I just kept looking for that hook, that one time to go, okay, now I'm into it. You got me by the hand, pull me along. And it kind of dragged me along until that third part where it's like, okay, gotta get to the bank right away and pay that debt.
And turn back time.
Yeah. And I wish they had gone in a different direction than having the evil, greedy banker, which we had seen in the first film.
Oh, okay.
So it was a shadowy reflection of the 1964 original. It's the same way you could say that J.J. Abrams did with The Force Awakens was a replication of the first film, just to pull people back in and say, this is what you remember from the first film. You loved it. Now let's connect everything and move forward.
Right. Yeah. I think it would have benefited by almost being more its own thing rather than being so hooked back into the original.
Yeah. You could almost make the connections with every scene.
Song for song.
Song for song and scene by scene.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm gonna put a thing in there because I can see what you're saying, but I think the point of the film, if you look at, there was a big message that said you've forgotten. That was the whole way through. It was the Banks children had forgotten.
Yes.
The experience they had with Mary Poppins, so it felt like they were repeating in a sense of this is to remind everyone what the Mary Poppins myth is all about, or is it a myth? Is it fact? And all that sort of thing. And also I would challenge, we've had so many years of hearing these iconic songs, but I can't remember, were they iconic the first time you saw the film? Did you literally walk off knowing the songs by heart? Or have we listened to the soundtracks and seen the film so many times? And I can remember on TV in the UK, they were forever showing Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious on these Christmas specials and that. Yeah, you couldn't escape them.
I had a soundtrack as a kid, and I listened to that repeatedly because I loved these songs. Yeah. So I think maybe while looking for my Galen shoe, the song stuck with me, and I really wanted to hear them over and over again.
Okay. No, I do see what you're saying, and I mean, nothing's going to live up to nostalgia in your head, but I do think there is something to be said for an earworm type of song, like It's a Small World After All, or...
well, even Jolly Holiday.
Jolly Holiday, yeah. Or Let's Go Fly a Kite. I mean,
exactly.
You hear that sticks with you, but it is hard to say. You are right, Martin. It's hard to say whether that sticks with you because we've been hearing it for 40 years or because we just don't know enough of nowhere to go but up.
Well, then we'll pick up this conversation in 45 years then. Yeah. Martin, can you hang on?
Yeah. So my little bit of evidence to support what I've just said is my daughter's 16. And interestingly, well, you can guess what her most listened to Spotify list is since we went to see the film.
Oh, is it Mary Poppins Returns?
It is, and it's the whole soundtrack.
Okay.
And now she started focusing on Nowhere to Go But Up.
Okay.
Interesting, she doesn't like Triple Little Light Fantastic so much, looking at the stats.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know, because I know that when you hear something as a kid, of course, it's going to stick with you. So I understand about nostalgic nerves, believe me.
You're right, we might need to revisit in 40 years. And then I'll say, do you know what? I was completely wrong.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes, like Into the Woods, we walked out of that movie singing those songs.
Oh, I like immediately downloaded the soundtrack
And that's
after
all
watching Into the Woods.
Listened to in what, 2015?
2014.
2014. That's all we listened to. And I remember loving those songs. And when we left here, it's like, was it Super Cala, Give a Little Love to Your Heart? What are we talking about here? I couldn't remember any of the songs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can understand it. I don't think they're as strong. I will say that. But I think everyone's comparing it with a 40-year legacy, and that possibly isn't fair.
And I agree with you, but there's no way we can help comparing it. Like, that's
absolutely, yeah. And they know that.
So we just want the Skywalkers to know that you get to listen to the songs and judge for yourself to see how much of an earworm and how much they're going to stick with you they're going to be. Mm-hmm. Now, do you know what did stick with me was Emily Blunt as Mary Poppins.
Okay.
Now, I've been praising her performance since the trailers. And I thought she had a very, very difficult time because she has got to, I don't want to say replicate, but she has got to continue the Julie Andrews persona. And that's a very, very thin line. And I thought, judging from the trailers, she did it perfectly. And not just replicating her, but adding a little bit of bluntness into the role as well. And seeing the film now, wow, I thought she nailed it right there on the spot. With a little bit of spit spot. She got the accent, the walk, the mannerisms, but yet she did it in her own way. So that right there, I think, is the best part of the film, is watching Emily Blunt.
Wow.
Martin?
Yeah, Martin.
So I thought she was absolutely perfect. And the fact that not once did I sit there thinking, well, she's not Julie Andrews, is she? Is a testament to how good she was. I thought she was just absolutely amazing in it.
And then when you say perfect, how perfect was she?
Practically perfect in every way. and it was so difficult because, you know, Mary Poppins was Julie Andrews and still is. And I in my head canon,
yes,
I now think that Mary Poppins can look different every time.
Yes, good point.
And that's a testament to Emily Blunt.
Wow. Okay. Well, I disagree with you both.
Oh, man, come on.
Okay, so, like, the reason I wasn't as skeptical about this film was because Rob Marshall was directing and Emily Blunt was starring, because I had loved Into the Woods so much. And I felt really that Emily Blunt as the baker's wife in Into the Woods was just amazing. Like, she's not a singer per se, but she is an actress that sings. And so every line that she sang in Into the Woods, like, you just felt emotionally. And so I was waiting for that in Mary Poppins Returns. And unfortunately, I feel like the way she played Mary Poppins, she put on this affected accent in both when she talked and when she sang. And for me, it took me out of her portrayal of Mary Poppins, because I just feel if she had not put on that accent and had really just acted out the words as she did kind of like in Into the Woods, I feel like I would have been drawn in more. And the one song that did get me emotional upon first watching was The Place Where Lost Things Go. And that is, if you listen to the soundtrack, Emily Blunt has hardly any of her weird Mary Poppins accent, and you just feel everything that she sings.
Memories you've shared, gone for good you feared, they're all around you still, though they've disappeared.
Once again, Emily did have an impossible task. I mean, no one's going to live up to Julie Andrews in my head. I mean, for me, Julie Andrews is like number one pinnacle top. So I know it's unfair.
I saw you faint when you saw her at the Hollywood Bowl.
So it's unfair of me to really, say, like, nothing's going to live up. I love Emily Blunt in Into the Woods, but I did not love her in this.
As a side note, Martin, what kind of an English accent does she have? I don't want to just say English accent, because that's so broad. Where would you pin that accent to?
Someone who's had elocution lessons. And in the same way that the Cockney accent that both Lin-Manuel Miranda and Dick Van Dyke did doesn't really exist, this doesn't really exist either.
Oh.
I think this is interesting. So you'll notice when I said who I went with, I didn't go with my wife, Emma. And that's because Emma cannot stand Emily Blunt's voice as Mary Poppins.
Wow.
Whoa.
Interesting.
But equally, she can't stand Julie Andrews.
Okay. Delete. Move on. Martin, move on. All right, next category.
Oh my,
next
and
topic.
I met your wife
Next
too.
something. All right.
I wasn't able to scold her about
Martin,
that.
why did you have to do that?
But she can't stand the voice.
Wow.
On both, she cannot stand the voice because it's very strict and not very real.
Okay.
Just really annoys her. So it's interesting that she really likes Emily Blunt and she really likes Julie Andrews. But, she was like, when she heard Emily Blunt had been cast, she was like, oh, I might be interested in this one. First trailer comes out, she said, nope, not going.
Wow.
Oh, she must really hate Dick Van Dyke, Bert, and Mary Poppins.
She loves that.
Wow. That's the one thing everyone comments on. That's not an accent.
I know. Well, okay, so let's go to the press conference, because here I want to bring up now what Emily Blunt says about her own portrayal of Mary Poppins. So let's go to the press conference and see what she says as to what she tapped into when playing Mary Poppins.
I found the books to be a huge springboard and enormously helpful. She leapt off the page at me just in how complicated she is, how unknowable she is in this wonderful way. That duality of the character, that she is stern and she is incredibly rude, and vain but like funny, and yet there is this humanity, and she has to herself have such a childlike wonder in her in order to want to infuse these children's lives with it. And there must under there be a generosity of spirit to want to fix and heal in the way that she does, so just finding those moments so she's not just one thing, because she is so enigmatic. And it was such a delicious character to play. Loved it.
Yeah, so actually having tried to read the Mary Poppins books, and I could not get through them because I just didn't like Mary Poppins as a character in the books. So this makes sense as to why I didn't really like Emily Blunt's portrayal.
After the film, you had said that she had based her portrayal on the P.L. Travers novels.
Right.
However, from what you had told me, that the Mary Poppins in the book, she is very hard and stern, and she does not like anything that never cracks a smile, and she's just a very monolithic type of dimension.
Right. Well, maybe
I didn't see that with Emily Blunt.
Well, see, I didn't get far into the books.
Oh.
So I think I just got that side of the duality of her character and didn't get to the childlike joy and wonder that she's bringing to these kids. So I think I need to read the books again. Try to get through them again.
I think I've got a cheat for you to get, or for anyone who's listening, to get the idea of where Emily Blunt come from. Watch Saving Mr. Banks.
Yes.
Because that's when I think you see how the character was written.
Okay.
In a dramatized way.
Right, yeah.
And how it's different to the Disney version.
Oh, yeah. Night and day.
Yeah. Because I've not read any of the books, but obviously I've watched Saving Mr. Banks. And I could understand why the character's written as quite strict.
Yeah.
But it's very sugar-coated, even in this version. But she has that strict element to her.
So, Martin, what else stood out in the film, in terms of anything?
In terms of anything, okay, so I think the big thing that surprised me, I know it's obviously a 3-act film, but to me it actually felt like a 2-act film. And it felt like the first half, and I agree with you, to me it didn't feel slow, it just felt meandering. Didn't feel like there was a plot as such, which again didn't feel too dissimilar to start with, but it was sort of like, oh, here's Mary Poppins, and look, magic things are happening, and here's a sort of an animated scene which is just like it was before, but it's different in this one. And I was wondering where it was going, and then and this is where I think it really grabbed me, was it kind of became the Banks Sons film. And Mary Poppins almost, to me, dropped out at that point. She kind of was in the background, nodding knowingly.
Yes.
And it was all about the Banks children coming to terms with the life they had to lead, and it became that plot.
Well, it's kind of like saving Mr. Banks, because they've got to save, even in the original Mary Poppins, it's all about saving Mr. Banks. So I think it's the same plot structure here, saving the little Banks.
Yeah, but I thought it's Ben Whishaw, isn't it? Is the
Yes.
so I thought it was absolute A grade acting by Ben Whishaw.
Who played Michael Banks?
Yeah, Michael Beck, because I was completely taken in by the pain he was going through for something that's quite a light film.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he looked troubled, but and then when he wasn't troubled, I felt really great, and I think that says a lot about his acting ability because it could have been very two-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I feel he and Emily Mortimer, who portrayed Jane Banks, did exceptional, and she like really looks like how Jane would grow up to be. Like,
absolutely.
I think that was perfect. And Colin Firth, I've always loved him since the BBC Pride and Prejudice series, and I thought he was delicious as the evil banker. I just really liked.
He didn't walk out of a lake, did he? Sadly, that was the only thing. He didn't walk out of that lake, did he?
He didn't unbutton his cravats or anything like that either, but that's okay. He's playing the evil banker. And yeah, it was kind of a two-dimensional role, but I just thought he was great in it.
Now, what stood out to me was the fact that Rob Marshall, it seemed like this was a paint by numbers. I know I keep saying this, and he had to hit every single beat from the original film. We got the Jolly Holiday scene, the evil banker scene, the Uncle Albert scene. This time, Uncle Albert is Mary's crazy cousin Topsy, played by Meryl Streep.
Mm-hmm.
And a checklist was going off in my mind, like, okay, we got that one, we got this one, we got that one. And I know you've got to do an animated sequence, just like the Jolly Holiday scene in the original Mary Poppins. You had to do that, kind of like the way J.J. Abrams had to do a big cantina-esque scene in The Force Awakens.
Exactly.
You have to do the big composited live-action animated scene. Mm-hmm. And I think if it wasn't in there, people would complain.
Yes.
But when we got that, I thought, okay, here's one more check. And I kept feeling my checklist growing longer and longer with every single beat that he hit.
Well, what's interesting about that is, yes, this is why this is kind of a love letter to the original. And let's actually go to the press conference where Rob Marshall, the director, talks about this very thing.
I use myself as a barometer, I have to say. What would I want to see? I would want to, if I came to a sequel to Mary Poppins, I would want to see an animation sequence with live action. And I would want it to be hand-drawn and a 2D world. I would want to see that. I would want Cherry Tree Lane to have a curve to it, because that's the Cherry Tree Lane we all know. I would feel disappointed if it was a straight street. I mean, it was as simple as that. Although we were finding our new way, there were sort of goalposts or signposts throughout that we needed to hold on to because it's in the DNA of the material. I knew there needed to be, John and I really wanted a big, huge production number that Mark and Scott wrote so beautifully, with athletic dancers, men with Mary and Jack leading the entire piece. That needed to be in there in some way. I would feel that if it wasn't there, we've gone off track. So it was this insane balancing act of honoring the first film, but at the same time forging our own way, our own story. Setting it in the 30s helped that. Having Michael and Jane grown up and seeing what's happened to them and how that and their journey and what they've lost along the way helped that. But it was constantly back and forth, and I have to say, I just used my own gut.
So yeah, Richard, you're exactly right. That is exactly what Rob Marshall did, and he wanted to do that. And now I'm wondering, was that the best way?
I think there was too many. And plus you get the chimney sweep scene, being the lamplighter scene. Yeah, there was just way too many boxes that he had to check, and he did.
Okay.
So maybe like that one obligatory Jolly Holiday type scene, you leave it with that and then create a whole new film around that. I think that would have been a better film.
Okay, but once again, people would complain either way, I'm sure.
I don't think they would if it were just that one nostalgic scene.
Okay.
And then built around that.
I think you could completely throw out the Meryl Streep scene.
Yeah.
And that's a weird thing to say when you've got someone like Meryl Streep in there. But I thought that was, and I've got a theory about Meryl Streep, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Is it just me now that, do you think her agent gets a call? Can she be in her film? And no, it's Meryl Streep. Oh, she can sing. Yep, she's in. Because she turns up in any film now where she can sing.
Which is odd.
That seems to be the criteria.
Because when she was cast in Postcards from the Edge, the Carrie Fisher biography, she had to sing a song at the very end of the film, and she was terrified. Meryl Streep was terrified to sing, and they waited until the last day to shoot that because she couldn't muster up the nerve or the energy to shoot it beforehand.
Oh.
So they had to put it at the very, very end, and now she doesn't do a movie without singing.
She's conquered that fear, and that's
Yes.
another great thing about Meryl Streep. But I actually think, apart from the fact you were going, oh, it's Meryl Streep, so therefore she's cool, that scene, and that kind of ended with her as well. It was pretty pointless. The plot that she was involved in didn't go any further after.
Well, Richard, you're the one who brought up the bowl that she was supposed to fix.
Yeah.
Did that ever come back?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, because the Banks
children,
an heirloom was busted. A bowl. They bring it to the crazy cousin Topsy. She's supposed to fix it and never did.
Well, okay.
Maybe that'll come back in the third film. 45 years from now, it's like, oh, that's why they left that one dangling.
Right. The only thing about that scene that's good is the lyrics in that song. Yes, they're kind of wacky, they're kind of funky, but there is a moment where you learn something if you're listening to the lyrics, and that is,
when you change the view from where you stood, the things you view will change for good.
basically change your perspective
Right.
on something and look at something a different way, and you will learn something new.
Well, let's cut and paste that and put it anywhere else in the film.
Get Lin-Manuel to just say it through the window.
Yes, yes,
and
exactly.
You've got the same thing done.
But now, speaking of Lin-Manuel,
yes,
where did he go throughout the whole movie?
What do you mean?
He would disappear for like an hour and a half at a time.
Well, I mean, Bert wasn't in the whole film either.
He was in way more than Lin-Manuel. When he came back, it's like, hey, who's this guy? Oh, that's the
Lamplighter.
Bert number 2.
Yeah, Jack.
But didn't Bert have like every job in London?
Yes, he did.
And he had,
so that's
he was
why
a
he kept
chalk
saying that.
artist.
he'd be a one-man band.
Yeah.
He'd be a barista at Starbucks. He'd be painting chalk drawings.
Yeah.
He was everywhere. So you kept seeing him pop up. But Lin-Manuel, he would leave for a long stretch of time. So maybe on the Blu-ray, on the special features, we'll get like an hour and a half of his deleted scenes.
Possibly. Yeah.
He was distracted though, wasn't he? He was distracted, which was a different spin.
He was distracted by Jane.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute. I mean, to me, they could have brought that story to the fore a little more. But,
Definitely, yeah.
And lost the topsy-turvy song.
Yeah.
But
you know what? Speaking of Jane.
Yes.
Oh, there's a segue. Speaking of Jane, didn't we see Jane somewhere in the film? The original Jane?
Karen Dautrice. Yes, we did.
Martin, did you see the original Jane make a cameo appearance?
No. So educate me.
Ooh, okay.
What did I miss?
So about halfway through the film, when I believe it's the children and Jack and Mary Poppins are about to get on the bike, in the very dangerous way that they got on the bike, in front of Cherry Tree Lane, this woman walks up and asks for directions to number 19 Cherry Tree Lane, and that is Karen Dautrice. And
fantastic.
Yeah, and several people in the theater got it. We all were like, oh, it's but not everyone in the theater got it. So I implore you, if you have not seen Mary Poppins Returns, to go look up what Karen Dautrice looks like now, just so you can have like that image in your head, because she pops on and off pretty quick.
I thought maybe she should have played crazy cousin Topsy.
Oh, that would have been
just to get her more in it, because she asked for number 19. I thought, oh, if she's asking for number 19, does that come into play in the original film? Is there a number 19 Cherry Tree Lane? I know they just wanted a reason for her to walk on and walk right back off again, but she could have done are you Bert? No? Okay, sorry. Moved on. Something that would have connected the films instead of just doing such a throwaway line that makes you go, wait a minute, why is she asking for number 19? Unless they just want something for her to say?
Well, that's a good question. And Skywalkers, please let us know if number 19 has some kind of Mary Poppins lore, like maybe from the books or something, because I don't know. So please let us know at SkywalkingPod.
So Richard, with your theory there, can I just ask you to put yourself in the seat of the casting agent who's on the one hand got this great callback cameo to have I think you said Cousin Topsy would be a great role.
Mm-hmm.
But then the phone rings and they say, "It's Meryl Streep here. I'll do it, but I have to sing." What would you do if you worked for Disney?
I would say, Meryl, you're in. Karen, you're the second cousin, Tipsy.
It's a duet.
In the same scene. Why could there be two cousins, Topsy and Tipsy? There you go. There's your answer.
This is why you should be running Disney.
Your mouth to Mickey's ears. Now, were we disappointed that Julie Andrews never made a cameo? And I know she had said time and time again, if I had made a cameo, it would have been Julie Andrews in Mary Poppins Returns, and she wanted this all to be Emily Blunt's film.
Mm-hmm.
So did we think for a second she was going to pop up?
I think I know what second she was supposed to pop up.
Oh, please.
Where? The balloon lady or what?
The balloon at the end.
Yes.
Where it was really obvious that the intention... so for those who haven't seen it yet, Mary Poppins gets a balloon and there's a song about you can see a reflection, and she's left with this one balloon and she looks in the reflection and sees a reflection of herself.
Oh.
Whereas you can't help thinking, perhaps that was supposed to be Julie Andrews giving a little nod to say, "Well done, Mary Poppins."
That would have been neat.
Yeah. And it felt to me when I was watching it, like that was just instant, like that scene is there purely to crowbar Julie Andrews in at some point, and then it didn't happen, so they just played it straight.
But then that would have negated everything she had said about not being in the film because she wanted all the attention to be on Emily Blunt.
Oh, absolutely.
But you know what, Julie, we'll forgive you for this.
Yes. Okay, my answer to this is I don't think we did need her in this film because, yeah, I think it would have maybe taken... I mean, Bert was amazing. I loved having Dick Van Dyke back. And everyone in our theater, like, applauded.
Yeah.
In spontaneous applause. It was awesome. But if you want a Julie Andrews cameo, go watch Princess Diaries and Princess Diaries 2. And there is a moment in Princess Diaries 2 when all the girls are mattress surfing at this slumber party. And Julie Andrews walks in as the Queen of Genovia.
I did it too, you know, but a little differently. Felix, I thought you never slide. I don't. But I've done a lot of flying in my time.
And then she proceeds to mattress surf down the stairs. And it's amazing. And that's all the cameo you need.
So maybe we can edit that scene into Mary Poppins Returns when we get it online or
Sounds good.
Blu-ray or DVD or VHS.
But it's an amazing wink and a nod to Mary Poppins, and I love it. And it's just the way she says things. Oh, I love Julie Andrews. Okay.
Did it take us out of the film when we saw Dick Van Dyke?
No. Oh, I thought it was
not
great.
At all. Not at all.
It was perfect because he was the old banker and he didn't need his makeup. Oh, I thought that was... He had grown into the role. And then he did this little jig.
Yeah, he had to. He had to have been in that film, in that role.
Oh, yeah. Oh, tears. Come on. Like, yeah.
But again, this is why I was really impressed, because it would have been so easy for it to be oh, and by the way, everyone, here's Dick Van Dyke.
Right.
And genuinely, he was there for a reason.
Yes,
and it made
was.
Perfect sense. And in fact, if it wasn't him, it wouldn't have worked.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with you.
So it wasn't a cameo. It was...
That's a role.
It was almost the twist, wasn't it? It was almost the twist at the end. Even though everyone knew it was coming because you'd seen the trailer.
Right.
People would have stood up and walked out had it not been Dick Van Dyke.
Definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the message of the film and what we took away from it. And before we do that, let's hear from the director again, Rob Marshall, and what he felt the message of this film is.
I have to say the guiding message of this film about finding light in the darkness is honestly what drew me to it and kept guiding me throughout the whole process, including till this very moment, you know, when people are actually now seeing the film, because it feels so current to me that, and I'm just speaking for myself, but I feel people need this film now. And I certainly knew that I wanted to live in that world and be part of that. And sending that message out into the world now of looking for hope and light in a dark time. And that's why we set our film in the Depression era in London, the time of the books. It was really so it could feel accessible and feel like it's a story that needs to be told now.
So did we get this message that, you know, light in the darkness?
Yes. So, and again, although I've said time and time this is about a sequel, I'll also try and, if I'd gone into this film and there hadn't been a first Mary Poppins, which obviously is impossible because of the callbacks, I think I'd have walked out saying, this is just fun. This is just escapism. It's not too heavy. I feel pretty good about it. And I think that's what they achieved. And there was a piece about, if there was a message for me, it was lighten up. Don't take everything so seriously. There's plenty of time for being serious, but just sit back and enjoy the ride sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that message really came out.
Yeah, I feel the message was more along the lines of, you know, tap into that childlike joy in life. There's a moment at the very end with the up song.
Yep.
Nowhere
That's
to
a
go.
whole different movie.
I know. Nowhere to go but up.
Yep.
When Mary Poppins is talking with Angela Lansbury, and Angela Lansbury is saying, "Oh, all the adults will forget about this tomorrow morning, about flying up in the air, but the kids will remember." And so, to me, that speaks to you need to remember to keep some of your childlike joy, and then you will enjoy life more and just get through it better.
And that was recurring, and I thought that was quite clever. So you have the little nod at the beginning where they see Mary Poppins, the Banks children, original children, Michael and Jane.
Right.
And they discuss the fact that, you know, they must have imagined all this magical stuff that happened.
Right.
And then she slides up the banister behind them.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's another good message right there. Believe the unbelievable.
Yeah.
Kids will believe anything, and they get that childlike wonder and so much fun talking with kids because they just love to believe, where adults are the first ones to go, nope, didn't happen. It's like, wait, you didn't even see it. What do you mean it didn't happen? She inclined up this banister. You can't do that. Nope, can't happen. But I saw it.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a really interesting dynamic, which I think was different to the original, where if you think about it, the kids in this, the Banks' children's children, are kind of the adults at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
Because Michael's had such a tragedy that he just can't keep it together. And it feels like he's trying to be an adult, and I think they make the reference he actually wanted to be an artist. So he'd clearly gone from the first film into a very creative place, and there's a hint, isn't it, as an argument of the experience he had, that he's become the artist, but then he's resorted to going into banking because he just needs the money.
Right.
And you've kind of got this message that he's tried to grow up, but it wasn't working. But ironically, the three kids are really doing well as adults because, you know, they're coming up with the plans of how to make money. They're doing the shopping. They're literally feeding the family. And it's Mary Poppins' job actually it's not so much about redeeming Michael as such, because he seems to, once he remembers, then it's easy. But she invests in the Banks' children to say life can be fun.
Yeah, and that's another callback to the first film. In the end, when Mr. Banks gets fired from banking, what does he do? Bursts out in laughter.
Yep.
Sometimes you just gotta laugh your depression away.
Yeah.
And so it can work too. Just to realize that this is all gonna pass. We'll get over this. Of course, that's not for everything, but sometimes you just gotta know that, you know what, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. I know I can work my way from this. Don't focus on the negativity, the darkness, the depression, but look for that silver lining, and that will just lift your confidence. That'll lift you up over that shroud, and you can go on with your life.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I was able to see Mary Poppins Returns twice, and once with you, Richard, and once with my friend Bryn McKinnon, who is a mom of two, a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. And we did a little recording after our watch. So Bryn, because she's a mom, she had this perspective.
Agreed. I definitely, something I'm taking away from the film is to remember to put more Mary Poppins in myself with my kids.
Yeah? Oh, really?
Yeah, like stuff doesn't have to be all, do this, you know? Like, okay, let's
you can
bring
have some
in
magic.
some fun, like
some fun.
Maybe even the message from the original film too, right? But
yeah,
it reminded me, like, why you don't have to just be grouchy when they're doing stuff they shouldn't be. We can turn it around and catch their attention and make it better for everybody.
Oh, see, that's a good perspective.
Yeah, it's gonna at least right now, it's gonna help me with my parenting.
That's great. I think that's great. Oh.
Yep, I get that. And that's why I'm glad I took my mum and dad and my daughter.
Oh, so it's very family for you.
Yeah, I was able to see my parents who loved Mary Poppins, but funny enough, I went a bit kid-like because it was like my child. And then, of course, I had my daughter there. So it was kind of a nice, let's all be kids again for a night.
Oh.
Did you guys all go flying a kite afterwards? Please say yes.
We did. We went all around London on our bikes, all on one bike. Very dangerous it was.
That just paints an image right there.
I know.
But we did go, it was ironic, we got a taxi back to the station, and we actually went, you know the scene where they all go past Buckingham Palace?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went down that road. That was a bit weird.
That is super fun.
That's what we said. We should be on bikes. We should be on bikes.
And singing songs.
Yeah.
That's it. Singing
on
songs.
Cobblestone.
They go a bit too long, that one.
Wow.
With stuntmen and harnesses and everything you need to ride a bike, as if the bike was a bull, and you got that long board as horns.
Wow.
That was just my 75-year-old parents doing that.
All right. Well, I want to bring up one more thing that happened at the press conference, because as often happens with these, you have a moderator who in this case was Mark Platt, one of the producers of Mary Poppins Returns. And he asked a bunch of questions, but at the end there was still some time for some press questions. And I was sitting in the front row. I was in my dress. So I shot my hand up and I got one of the only questions in the press conference. But before I could ask my question, I got peppered with questions from Emily Blunt and I believe Rob Marshall. So let's listen to this because it was just a fun experience. So this movie is
awesome.
Oh, thank you. I love, Mary Poppins is in my blood as well. So I'm just happy to hear that you guys have that same feeling.
Are those are penguins on your skirt there?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Your penguin lunchbox?
Yes.
Oh, this is just, it gets better and better.
All right. Well, I just wanted to ask, actually, I'm particularly love that this is a musical. And because it's a musical, I feel at the heart of the film is really where the lost things go. And I really would love to know, where the inception and thought for that came from. And then also from Emily, how did it feel like singing that on set?
Well, the song came from, in one of the books, Mary's uncle is the man in the moon. And she takes the children there for a tea party. But on the other side of the moon, he tells her this is where the things that people can't find live. It's the dark side of the moon, and not in the Pink Floyd way. But
although if you line that up with our movie, it works. That
seemed to be a good metaphor for loss, for her to sing to the children.
And we had to find a way for her to sing about loss to the children in a ways that they can comprehend. And the song doesn't actually speak of their mother until the final verse, until she feels like they're really getting it. And then to get to hear Emily sing it, I mean, she would come to our apartment where we have a studio, and it was just, magical to hear her do it. And
we got to bespoke it on her.
I mean, I remember those early days of coming to your apartment and singing that song, and I was so incredibly moved by it that I found it virtually impossible to get through it the first few times I sang it in your apartment. It was so emotional for me, because I did think of my own children, and these children in the film and their sense of loss, and that they're trying to hold their father together, and they've dealt with something so profound and so agonizing, to lose a parent and to be so young and miss her so much. And oh my God, I cry thinking about it. But it was just, it just moved me so much. And so on the day, it was one of my favorite days on set, and we shot that song all day, I think a couple of days, because it is that she recognizes what they need in that moment and gives it to them in this very tender way, and the song is so true, and she doesn't shy away from the fact that they've lost something, but that there's cracks of light, and there's something to learn from, and the idea of loss being something that they can digest as children and not. And to walk through, that you are going to walk through this loss, but that nothing's gone forever, only out of place, is just such a hopeful way to look at loss, really.
So for me, I think this calls back to what I said earlier about the kids had become adults too soon. So there's the obvious link is, your mum's always going to be with you because there's always a bit of your mum in there.
Right.
But I thought that there was also going very deep into it, there was also an element of you should be the kids. And then when the kids sung that to Michael, it was reminding him that he needs to be responsible, but actually he doesn't need to block everything else out in an attempt to be responsible. Because A, that's not where he is, and also B, they would rather have a dad than a provider.
Right. And that lost things aren't always lost.
Right.
They're always going to be with you. They're
just misplaced. That's it.
Yes, exactly. And they are somewhere. They're not gone, but they are somewhere. That was a very tearjerker moment.
It was. So there are really good messages in this film, and there are some great cameos, and if you're a lover of Mary Poppins, there's a lot in this film that you will like. And my advice to anyone is to really see this film on opening weekend with an audience full of fans, because...
Of Poppinites.
Yes, because the second time I watched this film, it was full of a lot of Mary Poppins fans, and I just heard, when you see the Peter Ellenshaw matte paintings in the opening credits, you hear these gasps throughout the crowd.
That was me.
Yeah. And then, at the end, Dick Van Dyke pops on screen, everyone was applauding, and it was just a really fun experience. So even though it's not my favorite film, I really had a good time watching it.
I had a good time talking about it.
Yeah, me too. I do. Yeah. I think there's a lot to unlock in this film that we don't realize the first time you watch.
You know what? It'll make a good Christmas time movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very light and airy. But I think if I knew going in that this was going to be a slower paced film, I would have been more prepared for that.
Yeah.
Once again, it didn't really pick up until the very end where they had to race to the bank and pay off that last payment.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the scene where all the lamplighter's are scaling Big Ben so they can reverse time.
And Mary Poppins is standing back watching that?
Yeah, it's
risk their lives.
180 of these lamplighter's all getting on each other's shoulders and lifting each other up. And it was very, very dangerous. And then at the last possible second when, these guys aren't going to make it, Mary opens up her umbrella and floats up and changes the clock. Now, if I were those lamplighters, I would have said, lady, you could have done this 20 minutes ago and not risked all of our lives?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this now?
But didn't you think it was fantastic? And that's something we've not said. It was funnier than I thought it was going to be. Mary Poppins' humour, very sarcastic, because she says, and I think it's the funniest line of the film, when they're doing all this stunt work to get up the Big Ben and it's all nervous and you have the typical they almost fall but they quite make it, and she just turns, doesn't she, and says, oh, it's like they've never done this before. Yeah, of course they haven't done this before. and
they're making a human ladder.
And does it. That's it. Yeah. And I thought that the way she delivered those bits were just brilliant in a kind of it's absurd, but she's saying it so straight nice. And I think the whole thing you say it picked up at the end. I thought the lamplighter bit was really good, But as you've heard me say before, it was far too long for what it needed to be. They literally just wanted to put a song and dance routine in there.
Oh, yes.
Rather than it be plot driven.
And not only did they have dancers, they had Cirque du Soleil bike riders.
All right. Should we get into that?
That was funny. That was updating it.
It was, but you don't have those Cirque du Soleil bike aerialists. You don't have them. It just said, hey, we're trying to update it with these guys doing flips and rolls and riding up onto railings.
Well, see, now we're complaining about something they updated. So
we never said they needed to update it, but something like this. You know what? I even believe I saw one of those bicyclists take out their cell phones and take a picture of themselves.
I'm sure.
They took a selfie. I know he did. And that's going a little too far. Because we had just seen the Beatles' Love Cirque du Soleil in Vegas.
That really stood
that was
out
fresh
to
in
us.
our heads.
It was.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So we're like, oh, come on, guys. If you start singing Love Me Do, then I will definitely have to get up and come back another 10 minutes.
I know. Oh, that was funny.
See, that's what I mean. It's more fun to talk about this
It is.
sometimes than watch it.
But I do hope the movie does well. I am interested to see what kids will think of this film.
Yeah.
You know, young kids especially. Like, Martin, what do you think?
So I think it'll do well because I think they've got the marketing right. Obviously, they had all that money they didn't spend on Star Wars marketing.
Oh man!
But no, they've got the marketing right, and it feels like a Christmas film. Even though it's got nothing to do with Christmas, it's the kind of thing that you'll go as a family to see, I would think.
Yes.
So I always use Catherine as my barometer on this. She wants to see it again already, and not just because she went to the Royal Albert Hall to see it in the cinema. Everyone that went has said, I actually just want to sit in the cinema and watch it again. And we've all said it for the same reasons. It's because I can park my brain for a couple of hours over Christmas.
Yeah.
And something I've not said, which we say what stood out and stuff. It's a film full of moments, so that there are bits in there that absolutely tear you apart in the right way. Like, and the clip that they've shown when the kite goes up and then Mary Poppins appears.
Yes.
Like, that's been everywhere. In the film, though, even though I knew what was happening, I've seen it about 58 times in trailers and stuff. It felt like a really big moment when Mary Poppins first appears. Because the music's all the right music, and she floats down, and it's the silhouette. And I thought there was plenty of bits in the film where you just hear like the fly a kite refrain or something like that, and it just emotionally gets you in the right place.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. There's nothing like the entry appearance of an iconic character, like when we saw Rogue One, seeing Darth Vader.
Oh.
That is an iconic appearance. And seeing Mary Poppins descend from the clouds, how can you not feel excited? The same way you did when you first saw her in 1964.
And then when you saw her go in the bowl, and again, you've seen it in the trailer, and I think that's the bit that I thought was quite powerful. There's something different about seeing it in the cinema with a group of people, because when you went to the animated bit, it felt like, oh, here we go again. It's the animated bit, and it wasn't just a rip-off of the previous one. It felt like, oh, they're doing the Mary Poppins thing. That's how it felt to me.
Yeah,
and it's got loads of those moments. Angela Lansbury, when you first see her, it's Angela Lansbury.
You hear her first. You hear her first.
Exactly.
My audience was like, ooh. There was like gasp, and then they show her face, and you're like, oh, it's Angela Lansbury.
I just heard Mrs. Potts. Where is she?
Yeah.
Has there been a murder? Jessica Fletcher's This, to me, is a film that's got more moments than most.
Right.
And they seem to hit for me.
Yes.
There wasn't a moment where I thought, oh, look, they've ruined it. It built up. It delivered.
They did hit, sometimes right between the eyes.
Yes. And if anything, it makes me want to go home and watch Mary Poppins again. Just the regular film.
All right. With that, Martin, anything else to add?
No, other than I can't wait to see it again. And then I'll talk for an hour about how I've seen it differently the second time.
Nice.
Well, good. Yeah, well, let's get those box office numbers up.
Yeah.
All right, now,
Exactly.
Martin, how can the Skywalkers out there contact you and see what you're doing these days?
Well, the best way to get hold of me now is through Fantha Tracks, which I'm quite active at. That's fanthatracks.com, and it's Fantha Tracks on all the social media. So if anyone wants to get hold of me, just go to Fantha Tracks.
Excellent. All right, Martin. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today. I love to have your perspective and your stories from the premiere.
And your accent.
Yes.
Well, I'm really hoping you come over soon and I can show you the actual places. and I'll show you the places where they talk like that. Because actually they do, but we just don't share that with anyone.
Wow, nice.
Okay,
I
so
am excited.
Instead of calling all the little kids Harry Potters, call them Little Banks children.
But you know our county system, that's what we're section off. You've got the Harry Potter county, but we just don't publicise that. You've got the Mary Poppins county. All the Imperial officers live in one as well. That's the other thing.
Okay, Sarah, pack your bags.
Wow,
We're going to England. All right. Well, Martin, this was a practically perfect conversation, and we thank you for joining us on Skywalking Through Neverland. And for all the Skywalkers out there, go and see Mary Poppins Returns, which comes out today, December the 19th, in the U.S.
Everything is possible.
Even the impossible. Off we go.
Well, that wraps up episode 233, our Mary Poppins Returns episode of Skywalking Through Neverland.
We would like to thank Martin Keeler for giving us input on Mary Poppins Returns.
And of course, all of you Skywalkers. Now, we hope to see you all at our meetup, our holiday meetup on December 30th, when we go see what play, Richard?
Special, based on the making of the Star Wars Holiday Special, which just opened a couple of days ago and getting rave reviews, especially from those who have worked on the Holiday Special.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, they said, hey, not far from the truth here. Very, very funny.
Oh my goodness.
So now I'm even really, really excited to see it, and to see it with all the Skywalkers during this holiday season.
Yeah, so on December 30th in Hollywood at Theater of Note at 5 p.m., that is when we're going to see Special, and then we'll go out to dinner afterwards. And Skywalkers, if you go to the website, specialtheplay.com, and you buy tickets for that night, you put in the promo code STN.
Capital STN.
Yeah, capital STN, and you'll get the tickets for $15. I believe that's $5 off. Now, Skywalkers, if you would like more Skywalking Through Neverland in your life, check out skywalkingforce.com. It's where we plus up our content and offer little extras just for you. And we also do some episodes just for Skywalking Force. So like this month, what are we going to do?
We're going to do a commentary track to Home Alone.
Great movie.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's going to be so much fun to record. We're so excited. So, once again, head to skywalkingforce.com. Now, if you'd like to support us in a different way, please share the show with a friend. We love that. Or you can also head to our website, skywalkingthrough.neverland.com, and click on the links to Pozu Shoes, Oppo Suits, or T Public. And that also gives us some referrals. So yay.
Now, if you want to see Skywalking Through Neverland, that's very easy. You just head over there to YouTube.
Yeah, and right now we have the Mary Poppins Returns press conference up at youtube.com/skywalkingthrough-neverland, and you can see the moment where I tried to ask my question, but then Emily Blunt said, "You look awesome," and the camera's all shaking because I'm like trying to stand up and hold the mic and still get them on camera, but it's really fun.
All right, now you can also find Skywalking Through Neverland over there at jedinews.co.uk and at Fantha Tracks.
We are on social media as well. We are at Skywalking Pod for Twitter and for Instagram, and we have a holiday giveaway going on Instagram right now, so be sure to head over there and follow us. We also have our Facebook group, so if you want to join us for some fun discussions and one of the happiest places on the internet, you can search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland group. You can request to join, and then you can answer the questions that pop up, and make sure you answer them truthfully and not like, I don't know, because then we won't let you in.
No. That's really happening right now. People
Yes.
are saying, I don't know, so guess what? I know you ain't getting in.
Yeah, exactly.
And we want to ask everyone to head over there to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher and leave us a review. We want to hear what you think. As we always say, not going to tell you to leave 5 stars because that would be pointless. We want you to be honest.
And now, stay tuned for lots of fun bloopers.
Oh, lots and lots of bloopers. Can't tell you how long it took us to record our Ode to Christmas.
Yeah, our 12 days of no Star Wars and Christmas or something.
Oh my goodness.
And some fun conversation after these credits. And Skywalkers, be sure to have a fun holiday season. Tell us what you got as your favorite gift this year. And always remember
to meet us at the Theater of Note on December the 30th.
And
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
to our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said.
On the third day, no Star Wars in December. What to do?
I can't do it.
Is that too high for you? Should I go down?
I'm just trying to think how to get speculate
on Raylo.
Speculate on Raylo.
Kylo Ray. What? Ray? Should we do that one again? It's
Raylo, Ray. It's like you're trying to work out Raylo.
Yeah.
Like Raylo.
Kylo Ray. My goodness. Right.
My countdown has begun.
No. Two turtle doves.
My countdown has begun. Two turtle doves. My countdown has begun. Two turtle doves. My countdown has begun.
Yeah, there's no up. It's all down.
Feel my pain, Richard. Feel my pain.
When will a trailer happen? Do they even need to get together? My countdown has begun.
My countdown has begun. Why can I do this?
I'm not sure.
My countdown.
Richard, I feel infinitely better now.
I'll count down to December.
And
Damn
rewatch. And rewatch all the films again.
All right, one time. Ready?
I think Big Finish with Sarah, surely, there with that voice.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
And rewatch all the films again.
1, 2, 3.
And rewatch all the films again. We have to be in the same key.
Yeah. And I can't do the same key.
Okay.
And rewatch
all the films again.
The giggles. Come on.
You said it.
Hey, by the way, I am rewatching the films in cinemas over Christmas. You'll be pleased to know.
What?
Yep. We got a cinema in London that are showing Solo, followed by The Force Awakens, followed by The Last Jedi.
How fun.
Why don't we ever get that?
I don't know.
Let's move to England.
That's the benefits of it.
Yeah, but then I'll have to learn your money system.
It's fun. It's a pound. The metric system is way better for baking.
Pound and quids and notes.
Quid is a pound.
I don't know what all that means.
It's all the same.
It's easy. You just need to have been here for 40 years. It's fine.
That's cute. Okay, that'll be cute.
Yeah.
All right, we'll deal with it. All right, that only took 15 minutes. Awesome. Woo!
That'll be fun to edit.
Yes.
Good luck with that one.
Well, Julie Andrews is in Aquaman. We gotta go see it.
Yeah.
Well, traitor!